even if someone uses a style that might kind of remind you, it's not your dad.
Yeah, probably something related to that.
Okay. Now, if there's a reference point, I mean, that's where we get our frames of references. So that when I hear a loud voice or a stern voice or something, I got my frame of reference, it reminds me, and it's my point of reference. Sometimes we might need to run that through the phobia pattern, the movie rewind, just to take that out, take the emotional charge out of that reference point. So that we don't use that as the reference by which we give it meaning. Now, you may need
I think I got that separated now.
Okay, so you got that separated well enough.
Mm-hmm.
Reframing feedback as acceptable and valuable, is that something that you're aware of? That feedback could be really useful to you?
Yeah.
Refining your skills. Mm-hmm. So what I'd like you to do is to notice how it's valuable to you. I don't need to hear all the specifics.
It's pretty hard to, you go around like this with trying to make feedback with a mirror or doing it all myself.
Okay. So that's one of your reasons that other people can give you a sense of how they experience you, and you don't have to do the mirroring yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay. How else is it valuable? And just inside, don't say outside, but just inside, kind of go through it's valuable for this, valuable for that. How else is it valuable for you? Why do you want feedback? Good, clean, sensory-based feedback. How could that improve your life, the quality of your life? Your work, your career, your success, your health, yourself as a person. How is it valuable? So you have some reasons. Mm-hmm. When you think about those reasons, those motivations, why is that important to you? And why is that important to you? And do you have a big enough why? So the feedback was really something that is part of the pathway to success, the pathway to mastery. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you've set these frames for that. Now, specifically, what would be the qualities that would really allow you to receive it? And as a menu list here, we've got patience, acceptance, appreciation, maybe appreciation of the person for offering it, knowing that there's always a positive intent.
Relationship would be a big one. Yeah.
Commitment to yourself, to your own excellence, to your learning, to your budding genius. And there may be other things that would also help you to be in the best place. Let me have you pick out three or four resources that will allow you to be in the best place.
Relationship would be a big one, the budding genius.
Budding genius.
And so that I can offer more.
So that I can offer more. So take those and notice what state it puts you in. The state of, I guess, caring about the relationship, committed to the relationship. And so as you step into that one, that caring for the relationship, and notice how the feedback is filtered when you're really committed to listening, hearing, receiving. The budding genius, the genius state and the mastery state and the focus state, that sounds like that's really important. And so be in that state. And when you're in that state, knowing that this feedback can enrich it and enhance it, and notice how when you go into that state, okay, and then any other resource that just makes this good, at you at your best, receiving feedback, so that how you receive it,
openness,
is also a blessing to the person who gave it, whether they're in the best states or not.
Yeah, appreciation for the
person. Mm-hmm. Okay, that openness.
And playfulness.
Okay, playfulness. So because that'll probably help you to lighten up and be playful about it, knowing that it's just someone's opinion, and you may say yes to it, and you may say no to it. It may fit, may not fit, but at least that openness is there, and appreciation for the person, and playful with it. So imagine all of this now. Just let this swirl around inside, be part of that energy field. And then imagine someone offering you some feedback, whether it's sensory-based or evaluative, so that you can play with it, explore it, be open to it, appreciating the person. And how does that feel? Do you need anything else, or is this sufficient? Is this sufficient to handle that feedback?
Yeah, it's sufficient. It'll percolate and
Okay.
grow stronger, and other resources
Okay.
will come on as
What
needed.
is it like for you? Here in this place, when you're doing that, what is it like? And maybe your unconscious can just bring some metaphor, some emblem, some... What is it like?
Just like traveling to some place.
Okay.
Just open,
Okay.
I don't know what I'm going to run into, but...
Okay. And you don't
It's
need to know.
No.
Okay. So it's just exploring, traveling. Okay. So what if you took that metaphor, it's just traveling. It's like just traveling and not knowing what I'm going to experience, but...
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a
And
good
just
one.
imagine moving into the weeks, the months to come, throughout the rest of this year, and just traveling on the road of your life, knowing that whatever is thrown at you, you can be here, playful, open, committed to the relationship, the budding genius, appreciation, just all these things are there. And you can have this at any time, any place, something is thrown to you. You're just traveling new places with people. So you like that?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can keep this? Okay. You know how
That
this
traveling fits very well for this, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Give him a hand.
Yeah. Thank you.
So this is what we want to do. We just want to put this together so that we can be more open to feedback with the resources that allow us to. Questions about how to do it? These patterns, you can now see there's a meta pattern to them. We have our referent event. We have the frames that we may need to deal with, so we pull them out of the way so we can build the frames that we want, and then just load it up with resources. So feedback, 10 minutes each. How did that go? Did it go okay? Awesome. Very good. Let's get the microphone, and we'll go to Pamela first and then to Ray. They'll be coming here in a moment. Was that enough time for the exercise? Yes for some, no for some?
One of the things that surprised me when I was a client was that I had some time contamination with my state when I was hearing feedback because of the history I had in the feedback session. So I was hearing years of feedback and resistance to it, so I did a bit here now process.
Okay.
And I put that in my feedback frame, and it really made it just the moment rather than the whole history.
Okay. So you're dealing with this feedback right now rather than feedback as a concept. Okay. That's a great distinction, because oftentimes what is one experience, then we create a concept out of it, and our concept of feedback that's based upon all kinds of references. And so being able to deal with this feedback, this person here now, then keeps it cleaner and more distinct.
I had the wonderful experience with one of being able to play.
Okay.
Play meaning that because one has such a strong belief set and highly values feedback that I simply endeavoured to amplify it a little bit, make it even stronger. But for me, it was a great opportunity to just play with it and not necessarily have to follow any steps. He is so convinced and so strong in receiving feedback, wants to receive it, has set such strong frames that I just played a little bit with amplifying it even more. So it was really good.
Okay, good. Other comments? Most of us now know and have seen in the last couple decades the power, the importance of physical feedback. We've got feedback machines and things that if you can get that feedback, you can control the temperature of your fingers, you can work on heart rate and heartbeat with feedback. One of the things we used to do when I was in Grand Junction, Colorado, ran our NLP training, is at the local grocery store, City Market, they always had the cuff and the blood pressure machine. And so the test to pass to become certified as an NLP practitioner, we would go there, stand around somebody, get inside one of those things, and we would see if they could reduce their pressure, their blood pressure and everything by so many points. And you can't do this. You'll never become a practitioner. NLP is not for you. But the feedback, that feedback is what allows us to make finer and finer adjustments. And without feedback, we're just guessing. And so the importance of feedback. Any other experiences or any troubleshooting with regard to that one? The troubleshooting comes up is if we find, kind of like Jim became aware of just in a moment, of an old reference. And this is where that movie rewind becomes such an important way to just taking the charge out of things so that we're free to create these new frames. And so oftentimes it's not a case that I'm not that kind of person, I can't do that, but it's just that something is in the way, like an old referent, that sometimes we need to rewind that movie and just get it out of the way so that then we can set the frames we want. Let's go to Bob.
Tony Buzan's, who developed mind mapping, he years ago modeled juggling. And I don't know if it was modeled, but he studied how, and he said the one thing in order to learn a highly complex skill he found you needed was feedback. And it's not repetition, it's not other things, because you can actually stay in the same state unless you have feedback. And feedback was the key for him.
Okay, good. So that went pretty well for everybody? You're gauging yourself in terms of your sense, at least on the inside, your sense of willingness to receive feedback and to know that is what will allow you to adjust skills and abilities to move to the next level. Okay, and openness. This afternoon, we're going to move to magnanimity and playfulness. And magnanimity is that sense of bigness. And with these two patterns, what I find is that when I'm more open to what's going on, and I'm not taking insult, and I'm not closed and defensive, then that is what narrows. And when that's gone, there's more of an expansiveness of consciousness. As well as when I value myself and appreciate what I can do and appreciate myself as a person, it expands my consciousness and my awareness and moves us into a state of abundance. And it's abundance that drives magnanimity. It's that sense that there's plenty. Your excellence takes nothing away from me. In fact, your excellence gives me a model, gives me an associate, gives me a colleague. Your excellence adds. And that sense of abundance, well, that is so in contradistinction to some of the cultures some of us have grown up in, where we resented and that little-mindedness of picking at someone else's excellence instead of being a friend to that. So the abundance scarcity will be the next pattern we will play with as we move out of that scarcity model. Most of us who have been in situations where someone graded on the bell curve, everybody can't get the A. Everybody can't be excellent. Somebody's got, and so there's that scarcity environment, and most of us have experienced a lot of that scarcity environment. And So the idea of abundance is fairly radical for a lot of us. But as we start thinking about and recognizing that in the realm of the intangible, abundance dominates rather than scarcity. Resources in the land of the tangible are fairly, there's a limited amount. But we know that when it comes to the intangibles, that the more love I give, the more love I have to give. And the more ideas and creativity, the more will come. And so in the realm of the intangible, the realm of the mind, in the realm of the neural semantic states, the more, instead of the more the less. And when we really feel that inside, then it's easier to be more open and giving and entering into better relationships with people because we're operating from magnanimity and abundance. And when you do that, then the little-mindedness and the petty stuff and the resentment and the anger and the bitterness, which are some negative emotions, which if we turn them against ourselves, create some real dragon states. So that'll be our next one, as we take our personal genius and realize that there's plenty. And that plentiness and that abundance. So that'll seed the things for what we'll do this afternoon. We're right at lunch hour now, and so we're going to take lunch. We're going to take an hour lunch and then an hour in your teams. For the first 5 teams, that's your modeling project. For the other 2 teams, that'll be practice groups. There's 2 patterns we're not going to do today, just for time level purpose. And so if during that time you'd like to run the Meditating Forgiveness and the Sweet Releasing Spirit, page 49, and the Solution Focus on page 50, those will be 2 patterns that's in this section that I've just added into the book that are extra patterns that we won't get to. So in the practice groups during that hour, if you'd like to play and run with those will be 2 patterns that you can play with from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And we will meet back here at 3 o'clock. We're going to be talking about magnanimity. I was corrected. I was magnanimity. This is page 48. This is that big-heartedness of mind and spirit and loftiness of attitude. And so to elicit this, let me ask you to think of some time, some place in your life where there was an expansiveness of awareness and there was a sense of largeness or bigness of attitude. Bigness of attitude. Now, sometimes by contrastive analysis, sometimes we can get to such resourceful states by doing a contrastive analysis and noticing the opposite. Think of some time when your attitude was little and picky and petty and irritable, and it was like there wasn't much largeness to it. It was petty and small-minded. Then do the opposite to that. Think of some time when it was really expansive, and there was a good attitude. There was an openness to whoever you was with, maybe to many people, and there was a sense of openness and largeness of attitude. The emotions that will come is tolerance, forbearance, a reasonableness, and an openness. The opposite is when things become petty and we become argumentative or grumpy or irritable or feeling like everything that anybody is doing is taking away from me. So does everybody have a good reference for a time and a place where there was that expansiveness? What has to be true for you for that to occur? What has to be true? What kind of a state are you in when that occurs? When that magnanimity occurs? You're probably feeling pretty good about yourself. So we're probably pretty centered. And relaxed and calm. And there's no threat or danger. But we're feeling good and feeling centered and appreciating and valuing ourselves and what we can do and contribute and feeling confident. So we're probably in a pretty good state that allows that expansiveness to reach out. And probably what occurs for you, it occurs for me when I find, because it's almost a magical state. And it's like then the ability to reach out and to empathize and to care and to be compassionate is easy. In fact, that's part of that magnanimity, that there's that big-heartedness for others. Big-heartedness for whatever I'm caring about and investing myself in. So as you kind of scan through and find, and maybe you'll find one time and it was really wonderful and use that as your reference, or maybe just bits and pieces of it that we'll put together, because it is such a marvelous state, especially when you need to deal with others. Especially when you need to deal with irritating others or obstructing others or people who aren't on the same page as yourself. And so that sense of magnanimity, and what's probably true is that there's a sense of abundance. There's a sense of you have a sense that you have much to give. And that the more you give, it takes nothing away from you. In fact, this is where abundance, I think, becomes rich, that the more you give, actually the more you have.
When I think about that comes determination. So start with like thinking, like feeling well, but then becomes like determination.
Determination. Focused on something important for you. So you're more focused, and that brings out that largeness. Okay. So there'll be different qualities for each of us. There'll be some things that'll be in common, and then there'll be some distinctiveness that will be unique and unique to you. But that sense of abundance, I especially think that sense of abundance is important. That sense of abundance. And so you may want to get some references for abundance. Sometime when you gave, you invested, you contributed, you did something, and you were richer for it. I think most of us can identify when we taught somebody something, when we shared, and then all kinds of other ideas started flashing through our mind, that we gave something that was significant and insightful and empowering, and we got more out of it. Okay, so let's get the microphone to up here in front to Serial.
Yeah, what I noticed is that it's when you're giving with no expectation of any return whatsoever, that it's most powerful. That if you expect something in return, then it's really, I don't think it's giving from your heart or in that magnanimous way, but in reality, it's trading. And so to be able to just give with no expectation of any return is quite remarkable.
Okay, so test that for yourself. If you take off expectation of return, does that create more of a largeness, or does that make a difference for you, but probably with less expectation, but just giving?
And for example, in receiving, but receiving something that you could feel like, I received like blessing from God. Could be that also.
Okay. So for some of you, there will be a spiritual quality to this. That there will be something like being blessed, like giving a blessing, or being blessed, and you're just channeling it out. So this is where some of that menu list of the things that makes it even richer and fuller and better, as we step into the state of magnanimity. This is 48. We look at some of the structure of magnanimity. The opposite is when we tend to fly off the handle and we're intolerant or boorish or grumpy or irritable. And of course what we know is that this will sabotage our effectiveness. It'll sabotage our resourcefulness. And so by transcending the frustrating events of life and the frustrating people of life and winning a victory over our own spirit, dealing with ourselves and others in a big-hearted way. That's what we're going after in this particular thing. There's some definitions there, that loftiness, and the word magnus, great, and then animus, spirit, and so that big, great spiritedness, which one of the translations there's that sweet reasonableness. There's a reasonableness in contrast to being unreasonable or irrational or closed down. So the very first step here, there's 3 steps. The first step is access a primary state where you would like to have that kind of an attitude. When do you need that? Now, for me, opposite from what Juan just said, when I get real focused, that's when I need to be more, because I can get so there that people may be coming in and being a part of it. So that's when I need it. That'd be one place. There's some other places. Maybe when things are frustrating and it's not working just right, and I still need that loftiness to make sure I'm not hurting people, not damaging people, not being sharp. So where do you need it at? Because that'll be where we'll apply this to once we put this together. Where do you need it? Think about a time when you were, and so getting your referent events, where you could have been irritable or fussy or resentful, but somehow you didn't. How did you do that? Or getting the different pieces that come together for that. And in fact, I'm going to add a third step between 2 and 3 there. A third step is what allows you to expand your consciousness. That's the question. What allows you to expand your consciousness to where there is a bigger spirit, a loftier attitude, a higher perspective about things? And so what allows you? So this will help you to start customizing it for you, what allows you. And it may be determination or without expectation or any of these other pieces that we're adding. And then there's a menu list. But the fourth thing would be then identify the desired resources. And there's that menu list as we put that together and just layer it in. Layer in that magnanimity.
Michael, what was number 3 again? What were you putting in there?
Asking the question, what allows you to expand your consciousness? What allows you to make it larger and more lofty, higher, broader? What allows you to move into more of a sense of abundance? Because when you get those pieces, we can put that together and then apply it when we really need it. Mark, over there.
I was wondering if you could help me make a distinction on this. I hear that so often you give without receiving, and I don't know if I'm just going way out to another state, but it seems I don't understand that. How can I give without receiving? Because when I give, I get something back, but then there's a loop in me that says, well, maybe I shouldn't. Okay. And it's like, so I still give, but then I'm thinking, I feel guilty that I feel anything. You know, it's like, can you make some distinctions for me on that, please?
Think of the frame of mind that we call expectation. Expectation is an interesting logical level of the mind, because as with every state, we have expectations. We have anticipations of what this will lead to or not. If the expectation is desire without demand, it's the demandingness that turns an expectation into a cancer. So in a coupling relationship, when we're dating, we have desire without demand. I want to spend some time with you. I want to do this with you. I want to do this. When we start adding the demand, now you should be, and the demand comes out as the shoulds and the musts. And sometimes that's the very thing that is the cancer to the relationship. So the expectation is I'm hoping and desiring. In the movie, it just reminded me, in the movie that John Travolta played when there was some astronomical event occurred and he was touched, I don't remember the name, phenomenon. And then he has, his brain is in super gear, and he meets this lady, and he goes to her house, and she said, "What did you expect?" And he said, "I expected nothing. I hoped for much." And that's that giving without expecting And desiring and hoping, but without demand. So on page 48, underneath there, you see the phrase should reduction. I think one thing that helps with magnanimity is should reduction. Let's reduce the shoulds in our head. The shoulds for myself and the shoulds for others. So knowing that we're shoulding on self and others in life cranks up intolerance. This comes from Albert Ellis. He talks about shoulding. It cranks up intolerance and non-acceptance and frustration and irritability. So we find our shoulds and reduce them. Why should life be fair? Why should you get your way? Why should she see things my way? Because I'm right.
Be reasonable. Do it my way.
Yeah, be reasonable. Do it my way. But we have these shoulds, and a lot of them are in the back of the mind as our expectations, and that's what creates that demandingness. And so as we reduce that, then we can give anticipating and hoping and desiring, but without expecting in the sense of demanding. So that's how I would go after that one. So who would like some magnanimity? Okay. Where would you like this lofty magnanimity in your life at? Where would you really need it?
When I nag about little things, I think.
Okay. And when would that be?
Around my girlfriend sometimes.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be a good place to have this.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you aware of whatever would be the trigger that might invite that? Okay, so we'll have you speak up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So he said around his girlfriend.
Yeah. When I'm nagging around my girlfriend. Yeah.
He's a nagger.
Well, not all.
Good. Push that away. Won't identify with that one. Okay. So are there particular triggers that would evoke that state to nag?
It's actually when I want to have some time of my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got, this is our ground. This is where we'll ground it. This is where we need this. So your menu list, what would enable you to expand that consciousness and that awareness so that you can really be in that state of magnanimity?
Well, the shooting, definitely. Not shooting.
Okay. So when you reduce that, that helps.
Because I think she should not bother me then.
Okay.
You know, so.
Okay. So that's how you would should on her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, it was the first thing that I.
Okay.
Put
Do you have permission to take that off and realize that I want that from her? Mm-hmm. There are times when I would want some time alone, and to frame it that way rather than she should respect that or give that to me.
I think I have permission, but I'm not really sure.
So if you go in and say, I give myself permission to not do it in a demanding, expecting way, but I do it in I'll ask for that, and we'll just negotiate and make the arrangement.
I have permission to do that, but I don't know if that would make a difference.
If that's enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at least that's one piece.
Yeah.
You got some other pieces?
In regard to the shooting?
In regard to just that magnanimity.
Acceptance, I think. That was one of the points in the menu list. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Accepting yourself, accepting her, accepting the situation.
Maybe accepting myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So try that on. Accepting self. Whatever that means in that context to you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's significant. Mm-hmm. Would the acceptance also then accepting her needs, her desires, her wants,
It'll definitely make it easier, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that helps to... What else helps to expand your consciousness and making it more lofty and bigger?
What was the rest of the menu list? Because...
Has there ever been a time when you've been in that state of just abundance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me have you do that. Let me have you go back and kind of reclaim that to know what that's like when you're there. You got specific references?
Yeah, I got many occasions.
Okay. Okay. So let's just go through 2 or 3 of those, and just in your mind, see it and feel it. And this time, noticing what you're doing to create that, to feel that, to be there.
Well, then I see a lot more other people around me.
Okay. So does that mean you're opening your eyes and being greater awareness on the outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also about inviting people into my home.
Okay.
It's a kind of a feeling.
Okay. Anything else you're doing that allows you to be there in that place? Are you feeling calm?
Well, I'm enjoying.
Enjoying?
Yeah, enjoying the people, actually.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And how do you do that? How do you turn them into pleasure so you're enjoying?
Accepting them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's that acceptance up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Notice what it's like when you're there. Obviously, you're expanding your vision, your peripheral vision, to see more. Notice how you're feeling in your body, how you're breathing, the eyes, the voice. Your voice and interaction when you're in that state.
Well, it's a lot of it has to do about love. There's
Okay.
a lot of things that I would frame as love. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so be there, because there's a strong, resourceful emotion. Okay. If you were to gauge how much you have that sense of that loftiness of spirit from 0 to 10,
it's pretty big.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I bring that to the other 2 resources that I just had,
reducing the shoulds.
Yeah, reducing the shoulds and the accepting of
and
myself.
accepting of yourself. So let that just fill your whole body. Just coach your body how to feel that state, that frame of mind. Because this, I would guess, is a frame of mind that's very powerful, very resourceful. And with that, just look with the eyes of magnanimity to your girlfriend and the contexts and things. And even when you would like to nag, and look at her with those eyes, and then just ask for some time maybe by yourself or whatever the interaction is.
It's impossible to nag her, you know. She's so nice.
Okay. Okay. What I'd like you to do is even look around this room just to practice the eyes of magnanimity. Just look around the room and shoot that gaze of magnanimity to people with your eyes. And being in that state, maintaining the state, the breath, the posture, the being. And as you do that, just notice what you have to be thinking, the love, the acceptance of self and other, and anything else that is part of this. Notice what is it like for you? What is it like? If there was a metaphor, if there was a feeling, if there was a color, a song, you know, just something, what is this like for you when you're in this place? So what is this like?
I don't know I don't know how to call it.
Okay. But do you have a sense?
Yeah, it's big and.
Okay. What you're
it's
feeling?
Like being under really, having a really nice duvet. With a big feathery duvet around me in between.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
it's like, yeah. I like feathery duvets, by the way.
So imagine taking that feathery duvet.
Yeah.
Imagine taking that the next time you're in an interaction with a girlfriend. And imagine just...
How did I get to a feathery duvet? Yeah.
And imagine having it any time and every time that you want it. Because you now know the state. Now you're mindful of it. And if you were to step out of the state, could you step back into it? Is it yours?
Yeah.
It's yours?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you fully aligned with this?
Mm-hmm.
So fully aligned with this.
And the nice thing about it is that she's fully aligned with it also.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it'd make the relationship smoother, more elegant.
Yeah.
Just more gentle with each other.
Yeah.
Okay. And there may be, as you move through life, other times and other places where giving this state to other people,
Mm-hmm.
to associates, to business people, to even just people you meet,
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes this would be a gift to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that this becomes another genius state when you're in this kind of focus, this kind of energy state. All right? Well, give them a hand. Thank you. So we want to access this state and then just confirm it in some way so that you can have it at ready access when you need it.
A little bit of a confusion here between 3 and 4, because both of them use resources.
Yeah. The third question is what would expand your consciousness? And I put that in there just to get the expandedness of your awareness and the loftiness, and then the resources that's going to support that.
Right.
So.
And then 4 is identifying the resources. I'm sorry, I'm not getting the difference between the two. Do they just kind of flow together?
Yeah, they flow together. I threw in 3, and we can just make it just 3 instead of separating if that would help for you. But it's looking for other things. It's just another elicitation question. What expands your awareness to where it's more lofty, it's more abundant, it's more expanded, it's higher? And so what expands that? So that's the elicitation question that we're looking for.
Okay.
And wherever you go and however you get it. Okay. Up here to Mike.
I don't know if it's helpful or not, but it seems to me the difference is that one is your layering or stacking resources, and the other question is for a specific situation or context. My understanding, my interpretation of the consciousness question is taking the state to a much wider approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a horizontal expansion as opposed to a vertical expansion.
Yeah. Okay.
Was there somebody else over here?
In most of these patterns, basically people say what the problem is, but they wouldn't have to, right? They could just do it, they could process everything internally. I mean, he said it's with his girlfriend, but he wouldn't have to say it, right?
Right. Okay. Now, this is to change us. This is so that we're in our best state. And if there's times and places when you get grumpy and irritable, and that does not serve you, especially with significant people, but also with just what we do in our careers and our work, so that we're easy to be with. There's an easiness, as well as it creates that sense of being in your presence brings that, feels like a gift and a touch of grace to other people so that it's easy for them to be with you. That's what we're looking for, that magnanimity, that sense of abundance. And of course, what this does, it creates rapport, it creates safety, it creates connection when we're putting out that kind of energy. Of course, to put out that, we have to be in that state. So the question then becomes, you may find that there's things to release, like shoulds or demands or old memories or hurts. So there may be things to release, as in all of these. And then as we build up that frame, of course, permission to go here, and permission to do this, because as the state is accessed, it's a gentle state. In fact, it can be a tender state. It can be a sensitive to others state. And that's what we're looking for, that magnanimity of abundance, and just however you want to texture it. So let's do 12 minutes each. Was everybody able to get to a state of magnanimity? Feeling magnanimous? Magnanimous? Okay. Did anybody find other resources that you layered in that was significant for you, that might be useful for others to know about? Resources? So let's, Sterling, if we can get Sterling the microphone.
We'll work with it. Yeah, actually, I had, rather than the Nirvana-ish one, what I brought in was just what I called, what do we call it? A state of humorous grumpiness. Humorous grumpiness. Yeah, it was just kind of a, just a twinge of just I likened it to your scenario of just kind of lovingly provoking people to grab their states when you solidified their states. So just that, and it's kind of because what happened was there was when we went through the I guess the ecology check, it was 100% with it. There was a part of me that said, well, I don't want to just be completely all this. You know, there's this little teasing, little fun pushy little thing in there. Okay. And that, but to bring humor to it. Okay. You know, because it just kind of makes it also a little spice. So it makes it fun. Okay. And that kind of clicked for me.
Okay, good. So adding some humor to it.
Yeah, a little spice
to it.
Spicily magnanimous.
Okay. Anybody else in terms of adding something to it that gave it a nice quality or feature that might be good for others to know about as we added that? Do we have everybody here? Are we still missing a few? Because I want to do a group thing and I want to make sure everybody is here. Are we missing somebody?
If you're not here, please speak up.
Yeah, if you're not here, please speak up. Is it obvious to you how that state is going to serve in maintaining and living genius when you're in that state and you're interacting and keeping relationships alive and going and balanced and so forth? Is it obvious how the state of magnanimity is going to assist and help you in that? Yeah. Okay. So that when we find someone who is interrupting or interfering or sabotaging or somehow obstructing our genius, if we have this state, we can welcome it in and just go with it and not get interrupted or interfered with.
When I was going into this state, the thing that it started to resonate with me was one of my spiritual teachers challenged us with living life and going through every circumstance with an open heart. And it felt very similar to me, you know, no matter what the circumstance I was facing, trying to keep my heart open to anything that I faced.
So finding other ways of talking about it and other resources like open heart, having an open heart to things versus closed and defensive. What I'd like us to do now is to do a special kind of use of this state, because this is if you found it resourceful and probably pretty powerful and really raising you up to maybe a higher level of functioning and operating, and sometimes we know that and it's part of our value system, it's part of who we are and what we're about, but we get so busy, we get so outcome-oriented, we get so focused on things that we forget to take a moment just to open up the heart and have that larger, lofty spirit. So what I'd like us to do, if the team leaders, if you'll get in the places where you've been meeting your teams, if you'll do that now, the coaches. So your team 4, and your team 5. And where do we have? Mike has team 8 over here. We're having the team leaders go to wherever you meet generally. So where do you meet here in the room? Okay, 2's going to be over here. Okay, so one is going to be over here. So what I'd like you to do is to go and huddle around your team leader as a group. Put all your books down and all your stuff down, and just go huddle around your group.
I'm being huddled around.
It reminds me of that.
As in a tight huddle?
As in a team huddle. So if you'll put your team leader in the middle and you around your team leader, I would like you to access the state of magnanimity and give it to your leader. Give him or her the eyes of magnanimity. The feeling, just shoot feelings of magnanimity to your group leader. And as you get more and more into state, accessing that state more and more, you may want to make a group huddle, huddle around. And when you feel that you're really sending a lot of that, let the group leader become part of the group and become a huddle so that you give it to each other. So, group huddle, team huddle, with magnanimity. Now the question with this state is, how can we be the best team we can be? How can we be the best team we can be? How can we support each other in moving toward mastery, in moving toward excellence, and moving to protecting and living our personal genius? And you may have some awarenesses about that. I want to give you a moment to share so that you go around and just share for a moment, how can we be the best team? For the next number of days, how can we support each other? Supporting each other's states, supporting each other's outcomes. How can we have the most fun? How can we do the best job for each other, supporting each other as a group? So I'll give you a few minutes to talk about that. We'll just chatter about that for about 3 minutes. We're going to be on page 51. 51. It'll be no surprise to you to know that one of my beliefs and one of my convictions is that humor is at the source of all resourcefulness, and that the more playful we are, the lighter we are, the more we can ease through things that would be otherwise difficult. I have found that for myself, that when I lighten up, a lot of things that were hard and difficult and challenging become a piece of cake through getting lighter about it. So what I want to do is to talk about a little bit of using humor and playfulness and lightness as a resource. And so page 51 is metastating playful humor. Isn't that true for you? Is that not true? Does anybody not find that so? So most of us know that. I think it's one of these mind-to-muscle gaps, these knowing, doing gaps things again, that we know that, and yet then we get serious. And I don't know about you, but seriousness, if it is the higher frame, tends to undermine all the other resources. Whereas if I'm earnest, and then I'm playful about my earnest, and then I'm respectful about my earnestness, if the seriousness is at the primary state and then it's outframed with a lot of playfulness, it seems to make things go better. Think about seriousness and mental illness. What is the relationship between seriousness and mental illness?
Almost total correlation.
Almost a total correlation. That the more serious we get about the things that did happen and what they did to us, then we get angry and bitter and upset and grumpy and irritable. In fact, every time I've looked at my states of being irritable or grumpy or angry, there's seriousness is a major part of it. So that there's something healthy about being unserious or playful. That there's something healthy about being playful. We know that in the medical level, physical health. We now have lots of evidence that the old statement, the old proverb about a merry spirit doth good like medicine, that there's something healthy about humor. From Norman Cousins, who checked himself out of the hospital when he discovered he had the degenerative bone disease and just started watching humorous movies, from the Three Stooges to the Marx Brothers, and found that 2 hours of that some laughing, that an hour of laughing gave him 2 or 3 hours of relief. And so we now know that there is something healthy about humor and playfulness. Most of us growing up, and I think it's part of personal genius, it was natural. We laughed, we had fun, we played with it. In fact, playfulness accelerates learning. If you're just playing at it. Next week, when we get to meta programs, I've invented a meta program board game, and we're going to play a game and see how we can learn meta programs without memorizing 51 meta programs. We're going to play a game, because if we can play a game and turn it into a game and just play with it, it seems to accelerate learning. And so one of the things I'm always looking to do in a training is to make it more playful and see how we can just play at something and experiment. Because it's when we get serious, when we feel like our self-esteem or our self-confidence or something is on the line, that we start getting tense and stressed and demanding and judgmental, and then it's like the learning isn't as effective, and we're not picking it up. So playfulness and humor. And yet, as we grew up as children, a lot of times the play was knocked out of us. Was anybody ever punished for, wipe that smile off your face? This is not funny. This is serious. And we started making that connection that if you're really serious, then somehow you can't be playful, you can't be light, you can't have fun doing it. And so we made that connection. So it seems to me, and especially in relationships, if we can be playful, that we can maintain our personal genius, and because there is a danger of getting over serious, getting too outcome oriented. Now Bateson warned about this and talked about this in Steps to an Ecology of Mind. And he talked about getting so outcome-oriented, we forget the process. And we get, only thing that counts is the product, what we create, rather than having fun along the way. So in meditating this, it's such a simple thing, just access state of fun and playfulness and ludicrousness and silliness, and bathe yourself in it, set that as a frame, so that we start looking for, how can I have fun? One of the questions I want each group to talk about in the morning is, how can we as a group have more fun? Because there are some outcomes we want to go for. We want to do these modeling projects. We want to do some of these outcomes. But I think even more important than that is, how can we have fun? How can we have fun? Because if I'm wanting to have fun with you and you're wanting to have fun with me, somehow that works on the relationship. That is the relationship. And isn't that what we want with our friends, our associates, our loved ones, our children, the people we interact with? Having fun in the process. So that I remember growing up, and my dad was so intent on making sure we're making good time on our holidays. Bob tells some stories along that line about how he was just so oriented about, getting there on time that sometimes it takes the fun out of what you're doing. So this is a simple process, and the metastating here of playful humor is, first of all, getting really curious about grabbing from your history and your references some fun times and stepping into them and just welcoming them back, and then having ready access to that so that you can bring fun to your seriousness. If you were to gauge right now, how much availability do you have fun toward your seriousness do you have now? Where are you on that scale? And what would be an outcome that you would like to have in terms of turning that up and having more fun with regard to that? And so that's what we want to do. We want to texture and temper it so it's appropriate and it's useful and it keeps us. And we need to have some balance there. But I think one thing that will accelerate our learning, our expertise, our genius is turning up the fun. So as a way of facilitating this for all of us in just a moment, just close your eyes and just kind of go back in your own history and think about some of those times when you just fell over with belly laughter. And reclaim them for yourself. Just go back and find those again, because what resources they are. Just let them delight your body, because I think it's healing. I really believe that it's healing for our bodies to... If relaxation and calmness is healing, how much more playfulness? Playfulness, fun. Some of us don't have fun being embarrassed anymore. Once upon a time, we had fun being embarrassed. In fact, we go around making noises, and that was a lot of fun. We'd laugh and carry on, and it was just silly. And so if you find some of those, and just see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt, just recover it, because it's yours. And all we want to do is just have ready access to it. So see it and hear it, and then notice what it feels like. Notice what it does to your face, your countenance. We glow when we're having fun. Our whole face, our whole gesture, our countenance, our being just radiates with another kind of energy. And it's a kinder, gentler energy. And so finding those fun times, when the fun was at nobody's expense, it was just fun. It was delightful. It was playful. And you might want to scan different kinds of fun. Some of that physical humor that we used to do as children. And then sometimes when something was pleasurable, like some of the pleasures we've visited, from relaxing on a beach to playing a game, to chasing a puppy dog, to turning around in circles, to going to an amusement park, to seeing ourselves in a strange mirror that would distort everything, make us look real weird and strange or tall or odd, and just the fun of a roller coaster. So gathering up some of that. You may have to have permission to recover some of this, and you know how to do that. So does everybody have a couple good ones that you can recover and enjoy it again? Okay.
Yeah, sure. I had the opportunity once of doing a presentation at the Sydney Opera House, where everybody was about 80 people, and I was dressed up in this beautiful suit, and so in the first half hour or so, I had everybody in that room up on the chair, and then I had to figure out how to get the jacket off the guys. They had a jacket on or a sweater, and maybe the girls had a suit on. They could take the. So I yelled at them nicely to take it off, and after a while, people would take off the jacket or the sweater, and I was waiting for the cue for somebody to say to me, "Take it off," which I was waiting for. So as I took it off, my shirt was totally ripped. But you wouldn't see it until the jacket came off. So all you saw was the collar and the cuffs, and all the rest was totally ripped. Well, that just blew everybody away, and everybody laughed, nearly fell off the chair. So that was a real fun, wonderful time for me.
Okay.
I pitched that from a presentation I'd seen a year or two earlier. So that was a fun time.
Okay. Yeah, if there's some stories that'll help us to access some other ones?
I do computer technical support at a large company, and we support over 18,000 desktops worldwide. So we have a very serious job, but we take it, we cope with a sense of humor. And one of the women in our department was getting married this past weekend, and she was so nervous she broke out in hives. Now you can imagine this darling little girl, Vietnamese, and she's got this, wedding gown, and she's broken out with hives. So we started teasing her that it was the monkeypox, because that was something that was just breaking out in Wisconsin, which is the neighboring state to Minnesota. Oh no, we got to stay away from Tom. She's got monkeypox. So she the next day brought in made out of a coconut, a monkey head, and set it on Che, one of the guys that were teasing her, set it on his computer. And he didn't notice it, and then when he did notice it, he just cracked up because here's the monkey. Well, then Che went for lunch, and Paul and I took some of the silly putty and made little pox, and put pox on the monkey face. And we're trying to get Che to notice it. He came back and he was so busy talking, and I was calling to his line to get him to pick up the phone, and finally he did pick up one of the lines that came in, and he's really serious about this computer technical support issue. And all of a sudden he looked up at the monkey that had all the pox growing on. It was hilarious because, he's trying to be serious. So we're all standing around watching him and just cracking up. So that's where I went to right away. So I'm still laughing about the monkeypox. Now the pox have gone to a prairie dog, from there to the cactus. So it's an ongoing joke.
Okay. So the pattern here on page 51, and we're just going to break into groups and into partners and do this. This might be a good one to break into threes, because sometimes having another person in there will just amplify the playfulness. But we'll first of all just access a state of playfulness, or fun, or humor, or laughter, or ludicrousness, or silliness, or something, and then we'll amplify that. And there it says, crank it through the ceiling. As you do that, one of the things in the couple lines there with regard to how you represent it. One of the places that submodalities, the cinematic features of our movies, really can be amplified is when you exaggerate. Exaggeration creates humor. So exaggerating it, distorting it, turning it upside down, playing with it, and playing with the movies in our minds so that we represent it that way and we start feeling it that way. Once we do that, once we've amplified it, then inform all of your muscles, your neurology, your face of the state. This is that coaching step. Just let your body be coached to how to have fun, to smile again, and to be playful. Then what we want to do is to, quality control it so that make sure that it's because humor can be misused. It can be laughing at someone or arrogant humor or taking advantage. So we don't want that kind. We want to be healthy, respectful, fun humor that's fun for all. And then we apply it to, just imagine driving in a more playful way. Reading and learning in a more playful way. Anything that otherwise you would get over serious. So that's what we want to apply to something that you get over serious. Taking criticism. Bring some playfulness to it. because we get over serious with taking criticism or any of these other things we've been talking about today. And so we want to apply it to any facet of your, and then apply it to yourself. Apply it to yourself. Because if you can laugh at you, it'll help you to have that glorious fallibility. If you can laugh at yourself. Now, we say that in NLP, we say it's never too late to have a happy childhood. And Richard Bandler has also said it's never too late to, and why not laugh earlier? Why not laugh earlier? He says sometimes after an event, we can't laugh then, but later on we look back and we laugh at it. And so his statement is, why not laugh sooner? That the sooner you can laugh, the sooner you can be over it. So let's apply that to ourselves so that we can lighten up about our own selves. So apply it to a few events of life and then apply it to ourselves and apply a humor, a playfulness, fun, ludicrous, silliness so that we stop taking ourselves so serious. And the paradox is going to be counterintuitive. What will happen is we'll be much more efficient, much more effective, accelerate our learning, accelerate our excellence, because there's that playfulness at the heart of it. So 15 minutes, let's do 25 minutes, and if groups of 2 or 3, because sometimes doing 2 or 3 at the same time, we'll do that. So 25 minutes from now, we'll come back. Doing that one. How did you do? Okay. Good. Well, today our whole day has been around the theme of dealing with people, dealing with the people in our life, and being in some kind of a state so that we can be at our best, kind of regardless of what happens in terms of what others think, whether it's criticism or rejection or they're just not on the same page as we are, so that whether it's through uninsultability, whether it's through receiving feedback and learning and growing and developing, or whether it's through a big-hearted, lofty spirit, or whether it's through playfulness, we have resources for living our genius on an ongoing basis. So that's been our theme today. Some of you did some of the other ones. We had one on solution focus and on forgiveness. Did anybody run those patterns? Did anybody play with that in the other groups? Forgiveness. Okay, forgiveness. Okay, forgiveness is one of these meta states that we layer on, that we separate the person from the behavior so that we may feel hurt or angry about the behavior and still respect the person and release them from it as we let it go. So that forgiveness is for us, is to keep our spirit sweet rather than taking the anger, the bitter, the hurt, and taking it with us, because that's not going to serve us. And forgiveness does not mean we have to jump back in relationship with them. It just means we let it go. Because we have the ability to hang on to things, and some of the things we hang on to don't really serve us. Mike and I want to take a few minutes just to comments, questions, experiences throughout the day as we debrief where we've been through today and how this fits into what we've been talking about. And also, if you're catching the structure of metastating now, and especially the gestalting of these richer states. Don't everybody raise their hand at once?
I just want to share this. I must believe that you have structured the whole course that it is alive. That what I've been having a very strong sense of, that all the processes seem to just add to that genius state of mind. So I have a very strong sense of whatever process I go through. I'm finding that it's amplifying and it's making the genius state bigger, and it's really giving it color and texture and all kinds of things. So it's a very real sense that I'm experiencing.
Good.
I have a question. Is that we've created a common language and understanding here about framing and accessing state, et cetera. Working with people who haven't been in this workshop, like clients, how do you ease into the process, and how do you explain the concepts without getting technical or stopping to do definitions? How do you language that very naturally in conversation?
Good question. So how do you do it?
One of the ways that I do it a lot of times is I don't normally start talking about neurosemantics or metastates or holons and things like that because you get strange looks. But I usually talk about, I use frame of references. That's something that everyone basically is aware of, frame of references or their frame of mind. And I usually will start it off, and it's interesting you should ask that because I was just teaching a class recently on that. I was talking about emotions and where emotions come from. And I said frame of references, and I said, let me give you an illustration. I asked someone sitting in the audience, I said, what's your name? And he told me the name. I said, how do you know that's your name? And I go, well, because that's what my mother named me. And sometimes I think and I go, and how do you know your mother's right? You know, well, how do you know that's really your name? And usually it goes back to something. They go, what's on my birth certificate? And I explain, see, that's your frame of reference, is what you refer to it. And then I kind of just expand it from there and say, we all have frame of references that we operate from. And then I go into, and we call it by different names, beliefs, attitudes. And so far I haven't had any difficulty with that.
Great. Okay. One of the insights that I had today, and I'd be interested to hear Michael's feedback, is that it struck me that with the metastate process, the process that you seem to run is when I take a problem and then I metastate it and I step back, that's one step dissociation. Then sometimes when I go to higher states, I'm going to a two-step. And it strikes me, the further you go up in that process, the more difficult it is to maintain that negative state. Mm-hmm. So it seems like that is implied or built into metastates. Am I right with that perception?
Yeah, that's a presupposition of what we're stepping back. And this is where John Burton has added part of the definition of metastates, that it's an expanded state of consciousness, that we step back to a broader perspective, step back to even a higher, broader perspective, step back, and we keep expanding it, so it's not making this go away, but it's recontextualizing that and filtering it, texturing it in different ways, so that in that sense, we're getting more psychological distance from the difficulty. And we're now seeing the difficulty, experiencing, feeling the difficulty through more and more resource lens. And so it's texturing, it's layering, it's making it richer. And because this is the natural process that we all go through, we're always layering. When we take charge of that and layer it with resource, then it's hard, it's more and more difficult, it's more and more challenging to step back in and just have that problem in the way it was originally.
Of course, also, too, the slight difference that we now do with neurosemantics and metastates, so when we really don't use the term so much dissociation. We talk about going meta or going to a higher level frame. But that usually, in the way I was taught when I first started learning NLP, was dissociation meant you step back from it and you don't have any feelings about it. And that was totally blown out of the water one time when I had somebody do that. And I said, how do you feel? Sad. I went, that's not supposed to happen. You know, you're not supposed to feel anything. And so what I've learned in studying metastates is that it's not so much, you don't lose feelings, you just go into another state. And sometimes that can be frustration, it can be anger, or depending on the type of question you as a practitioner ask, you may take them to higher, more resourceful states about that as you get to the higher level frames as to why they're doing something. So it's a little bit different in that traditionally in NLP it was you dissociate and you went to neutral, you didn't have any feelings about it, and we say, well, no, it's not exactly that. It's that you go to another state. So that state, and even neutral could be a state.
Yeah. Right. So what Mike is now describing is what we say that the word meta does not mean dissociation. It's not an immediate equal. It means that we're stepping back into another state. And so what is the feeling of that state? So that's why, in fact, most meta feelings are more intense than the primary. So fear is a feeling, but fear of fear is more intense than just fear. And learning is one, but love of learning is more intense. So it doesn't mean we're turning down the emotion. We're just changing and qualifying and texturing. And So this is what we mean by the emotions of metta. That some metta feelings are much more intense than what's at the primary level. The primary level will be primary emotions, and there's generally about 12 primary emotions. And when we start mixing them together, we get secondary emotion, triary emotions, and so forth as they mix.
Seems to me that stepping back can be it's like more of a metaphor, or I mean, that works for us. But it seems like there's many degrees to which we could meditate. Like, you could still have the experience and like put a little bit of some other resource in there, and there may be a way, like if you really wanted to do it in a big way, you could like, in a sense, like push the primary state out there, and then really build a really strong state of like acceptance. And then bring that primary state. Like you could do it in different approaches to meditating to different degrees. Is that so?
Yeah, definitely so. So by now I'm hoping that you really have a good feel for those 5 A's, accessing, amplifying, applying, that's a natural process, and so that these patterns will go quicker and quicker in the next couple of days. So that we can meditate lots and lots of things. And as you can tell, there's just so many ways, so many wild and wonderful mixtures. And we may do a meditate mix here in a couple of days. We've played and done that before. Just throwing into a basket a whole bunch of states, 10 states, 20 states, 30 states, and then pulling them out and doing mixtures and just seeing what kind of wild and wonderful combinations that we can put together. And so when you know that you can take any state and embed it inside of any other state or apply another one to it, then the possibilities start increasing exponentially, really, as we start layering and layering. And the question, as for us in design engineering, the kind of states of mind, frames of mind that we want is what would be some of the layers that would really impact us and enhance our lives.
One of the neat things that I like about the metastates model and the neurosomatic model is the idea of you can take different things and mix them together just to see what would happen. Because I've started to develop a couple of things, and it came out of, well, what would happen if I took this state and brought it to bear upon this? And I remember one time I wrote Michael about this. I was lying on the couch one day trying to figure out what's a better way to install some of these things. And I was playing around with it in my mind. I kept thinking about the mine and saying mine and it belongs to me. And I started coming up with this pattern. I went, I got it. I know what to do. And I wrote this pattern out. And he had just sent me a book called Installation, but I hadn't had a chance to look through it. I wrote it all out. Was so excited. Was going to email him about it. Got the installation. Oh, before I email him, I'll read it while I'm eating my sandwich here. And there was my pattern. Like, oh, shoot. So I emailed him and, told him what happened. I said, great minds think alike. You start playing with things, and it's just the curiosity, because a lot of times you don't know what will happen when you bring one state to bear, and you set it with a frame of let's just see what will happen. So you don't permanently install something, but let's just see what will happen, because different things happen. I remember at one neurosomatic training we did, the guy had I believe it was doubt, and I had him bring confidence to bear upon doubt. Now he was sure he couldn't do it. Okay, that didn't work real well. Let's do something else.
Don't go there.
But there's a lot of things. So yourself, I look forward to doing that, of being able to mix and see what can you create, what can you come up with.
So.
I'm just curious, my ex has gout. What did you do with that gentleman as far as his gout goes?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
What did you do with the guy who had gout? I mean,
doubt.
It was doubt.
Oh, doubt.
Yeah, the gout, that's the woman our next door. April's going to need a refund. Yeah, we he gave him gout, though. Meditating him with the gout. He doubted his gout. Now he's out.
Tomorrow we're going to shift to talking about business. We're going to look at the structure of business and meditating ourselves with the kind of state so that we can really be business-wise and intelligent in business and being able to work in that domain, the field. We'll talk about entrepreneurship and being able to see and seize opportunities. And wealth. We'll talk about wealth and making money and being financially viable and in the working world and the kind of states that we need to be able to manage there. This seems to me to be one of the weaknesses of the NLP model, that we've got these great ideas, but there's not been a lot of business sense of how to really be efficient and effective there. So that's what we want to apply to tomorrow. Where we've come from yesterday and today is that yesterday we looked at just when life hurts, when I need to deal personal issues with myself. Today with when relationships or people are not in a line and on the same page with me, and then tomorrow into business. So we've been moving in a sequential way, getting ourselves in such a way that we are texturing our states to handle life, to handle people and relationships, to handle business, and that'll sustain our own personal genius so that we can live it on a day-to-day basis, and as we do so, have lots of fun. So from now on, I look forward to seeing it textured and tempered with fun and playfulness and delight, because that'll add to that motivation. So what Nina brought up is that, yes, we've been texturing it. And we started with one kind of motivation, intentional, having a big why. But another motivation is it's just fun. Sure, I'm going after things, and there's importance, but it's also the experience itself. It's fun. It's fun to make people feel good. It's fun to see transformations. It's fun to learn. It's fun to get feedback and to anticipate moving to the next level. It's fun to be able to manage my own states, to really take control of my brain and to manage that. It's fun to wonder what kind of new meanings and meaningfulness can I add to my life. And when we do that, then that personal genius, that excellence of being able to see and tap into things and explore, I think will emerge like that childlike creativity that we were born with.
I think it's great with what we're doing here, too, because we're really tapping into resourceful states and the fun and the playfulness. There's a quote that I like by Bertrand Russell. It was a philosopher, and it's not exactly it, but he said something to the effect of, we feel too little. At least we feel too little of those creative emotions from which a wonderful life is created and springs. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that, you know, when you begin to ask the question, well, what would happen if I began to live my life from a place of playfulness, of joy? You know, and I brought that to bear upon the work that I do. How would it change and transform what I'm doing? Just a question. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, if there's no more questions or comments about that, we will meet back here this evening for the practice groups and the other processes that we're doing. Tomorrow night is our pizza party. We will end at 6 here and give you some time to go and readjust yourself in whatever way you'd like, and then be back here at 7:30, 7:15, 7:30, and it's just kind of a party. And it's really in honor of those who will be leaving on the 7th day. And so that'll be what we'll do tomorrow night. So we will not have groups or practice group tomorrow night.